Oh, man, Sean Murray, is that you? Man, I was just thinking about you, bro. Welcome back, travelers. Good to see you again. Good news this week for No Man's Sky. And I was actually just thinking to myself, Sean Murray has been quiet for a while, and about time that Titan starts crawling out of bed again, if you know what I mean. Folks, as if you haven't heard it already, I want to introduce to you No Man's Sky Beyond and the 3 components that are being crammed together to make one update as of summer 2019. Summer could mean really anything, probably June through September or something like that. So it's really nebulous on when we can consider a release date for that. That's a little far out, but I do want to get into the release of the information on the No Man's Sky website that Sean put out the other day, and let's kind of break apart some of the details. Let's talk about breaking that down for a couple of items that I can see in the trailer, what little of items that it does give us. Let's talk about what No Man's Sky Online means and what it should do to be successful, and a little something special at the end for y'all that y'all should check out, so stay towards the end for that information as well. But we know that there is a lot of hunger out there for news and updates on No Man's Sky. We wanted to share some information from behind the scenes. Our next chapter will be called No Man's Sky Beyond, coming summer 2019. Each chapter of No Man's Sky has been more successful than the last, thanks to our community. Next, our large release last year was especially so. It went on to bring enjoyment to millions of new players, and it helped to change the legacy of the game we care so much about. Earlier this year, whilst working on our roadmap for 3 future updates, we decided we wanted to interweave their features and had a vision for something much more impactful. We are excited to announce that Beyond will contain these 3 major updates rolled into one larger free release. The first component of Beyond we are announcing today is No Man's Sky Online. No Man's Sky Online includes a radical new social and multiplayer experience, which empowers players everywhere in the universe to meet and play together. Whilst this brings people together like never before, and has many recognizable online elements, we still don't consider No Man's Sky to be an MMO. It won't require a subscription, won't contain microtransactions, and will be free for all existing players. These changes are an answer to how we've seen people playing No Man's Sky since the release of Next, and is something we've dreamed of for a long time. We will talk more about each component when we know we can be precise, and look forward to sharing more in the coming weeks. Beyond will be our most ambitious chapter so far, and something we've been working ridiculously hard on. We'll continue to support No Man's Sky in this way for the foreseeable future. It's unexpected, but so rewarding to see so many accolades and nominations for No Man's Sky as best ongoing or most evolved this year. To some, Next may have felt like a natural endpoint for our journey, but for us, it was another step on a longer voyage. Thank you so much, Sean. So it may not seem like a whole lot of information, but there's some few details in there that I think that are worth highlighting, and some that are possibly worth concern. So also, Sean Murray did a subsequent amount of tweets after the reveal, most of which contains information he shared in the release on the website. And of course, there's any amount of speculation that we can give as to what the other 2 components of Beyond are going to be, but No Man's Sky Online has been sort of rumored since before launch, and I would say much of us thought that we kind of already got that sort of finger quotes traditional multiplayer that was promised sometime before release in that one in No Man's Sky's first E3 appearance. One would have to imagine that since they wanted to interweave the features of these 3 updates as they are combining them together for one mega update for the summer, these 3 components pretty much have to complement each other pretty well. That's conjecture, of course, but I would imagine interweaving is sort of a strong word. Sean is really good and very deliberate with his words, even though the launch of the game kind of suggests otherwise. He's very thorough with how he presents those things. But there's one sentence in that whole thing regarding No Man's Sky Online that I wanted to pick out and sort of pick apart and sort of analyze what that would look like. But first, let's break down the video. Obviously, the video doesn't give us a whole lot to go off of. We see a dude, we see a ship, and we see a massive structure. If you watched my No Man's Sky 2.0 top 10 speculation video, you know that there was a few points of interest that I put in that video. A few items I think that I think might be relative to what we saw here. First off, ship customization. The ship here looks oddly different, and I've been playing No Man's Sky since launch, and I've seen thousands of ships, and there's something about this ship that I think kind of strikes different to me than regular ships. There's some different coloration. I see grays, reds, more of a light blue or teal type color. I see some decals. The ship is oddly clean. There's no damage or wear and tear like we see commonly on ships. I see a nose scoop there. I see a combination of wings and things sort of attached to the side of the hull of the ship that I don't think I've ever seen before. So either they're sort of adding to the detail of ships, or they're adding ship customization or shipbuilding, which I think is sorely needed in No Man's Sky. The RNG in No Man's Sky for sort of hunting down ships, 3 years into launch, really, I just don't think is the best way to go about it. When you want a ship to be yours, there's no better way for a ship to be yours than you building it, in my opinion. But also, I'm looking at other things that appear to be sort of newer assets to the game that currently aren't there, namely the posts on the corner of the walkway that we see here. You'll also notice that the ship is not laying on a traditional landing platform, but rather sort of just sitting there as normal. So I wonder if they're sort of changing things up for that too. As the video zooms in towards the structure of light in the background there, we start to see a little bit more in play. And honestly, I'm having a lot of trouble putting my finger on what this is. In my 2.0 video, I talked about structures really being desperately needed in No Man's Sky because everything deals with space, everything deals with the surfaces of planets, and both of those things don't really have a terrible amount of depth to them, and I really feel like No Man's Sky is sorely missing structures, megastructures, dungeons, and things like that. The tech to No Man's Sky, procedural tech, the terrain formation is second to none, in my opinion, but it's been a sorely missed opportunity that I don't think Hello Games have been able to take advantage of yet in regards to buildings, structures, interiors. And it looks like they're putting me right in my place for this part because this is a super beautiful structure. A lot of cool-looking orange sort of trusses on the left and the right of the building. The ceiling is animated with a lot of orange movement. And something new, a lot of new assets. I see 3 towers that sort of have orange lights coming from them. With the motion blur of the camera, it's hard to really tell what's going on here. But in the middle of the scene here, we have something that looks a bit like a walkway or a path. Now, we know that what few structures that No Man's Sky has, particularly the Atlas interfaces, there contains a whole lot of area that it looks like you should be able to go, but you can't actually go to these areas. So it's really hard to say what is in this room. Is it just a bunch of big space for no good reason? I do see a lot of green fog. I do see what appears to be depth in the sort of pit area there. A lot of green fog, looks like bridges and walkways. So it's hard, it's really difficult to see what's going on here, but I really wonder if this is a play space. Another trouble that I'm having with this scene here is I'm having trouble determining what is going on with the scale of this room. The camera moves so fast that it's hard to tell just how large this game, how large this particular place is, and it's difficult to find something to match what the scale of the rest of the building is. So the depth and the perception of how large the building is kind of hard to discern here. And lastly, one thing, the very back of the room, that point of light there, a lot of speculation is saying that that looks like a boundary failure. Boundary failures are in the game currently, but they do very little. They give you a little bit of lore in the game, but that's about their limit. So that's really all we can get from this trailer. There's not a ton of information, but I'm really excited by what it does because aesthetically and design-wise, it looks like it's answering or trying to answer some questions about what could be coming. And I know 2 big checkpoints possibly from my 2.0 No Man's Sky 2.0 version video might have been checked here. So this is pretty cool. So my thoughts about No Man's Sky Online. And there's a quote in the release that Sean put out that is worth being excited about or worth concern or both. And that phrase is, No Man's Sky Online will bring people together like never before and has many recognizable online elements. Now, while they don't consider it an MMO, there are games today that have sort of recognizable online elements that aren't exactly MMOs. Think about games like Destiny. Think about games like The Division and Division 2. Think about Anthem, right? These games are not exactly MMOs, but they are shared world shooters and multiplayer MMO likes, right? So it doesn't exactly have to be an MMO to be a large MMO like type play. And so I mentioned those 3 games because I really think, and this was another item that I put in my No Man's Sky 2.0 video, and I really think that No Man's Sky can benefit from something like a PvP and PvE type of environment and raids and things like that. So also it says that they are bringing people together like never before, and I find that kind of difficult to understand because as it stands right now, there's like 250 galaxies in the game, and some of these folks who have been playing No Man's Sky since launch are existing in any one of those other galaxies. Could we be able to travel to other galaxies? Are they eliminating all of the other galaxies altogether and just having one galaxy? That's another point in my 2.0 video, that we should have one single better galaxy. So I'm concerned about how they're going to do that because right now, No Man's Sky is just sort of a holding hands and exploring together, and that can only go so far. I mean, that's kind of nice, but there's very little engagement. There's not much more engagement than when Atlas Rise is released and you could see orbs of people. You can interact now. That's cool. I think that's great, but there's just not a lot of depth to those things. So let me know what you think, everybody, about No Man's Sky Online, what you see in the video, the breakdown, what concerns you might have about what No Man's Sky Online could bring, and what do you think the other 2 components are of No Man's Sky Beyond. And of course, I have one more really cool thing to show you. My dude Kyle Culver edited up a really cool cinematic short called Next Level, and many YouTubers, including myself, were in there doing voice work. Very good voice work, as a matter of fact. Cobra TV is there, Cloud Runner is there, Lily Hop is there, and many more. Lots of capture, very well edited, super good sound, and I want to give you all a piece of that. Check it out.
What are we doing?
I'll show you.
Ha-ha! Refueling warp engines! Adventure awaits! You ain't bad, newbie.
Not bad at all.
And then, of course, do consider clicking the link in the description below to go watch that video. Super awesome fun time making that. And y'all enjoy.